Hello, dear astrology lovers, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alexandra, and I'm a professional ESAR certified astrologer. In today's video, we're covering the astrological transits for August 2026 and what a month it's going to be. We're entering the eclipse season, and on top of that, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Sun are all changing signs. Also, Mercury has just finished its retrograde journey through Cancer, and we're all eager to finally accelerate and move forward again. If July was marked by delays, misunderstandings, a melancholic mood with Mercury retrograde in Cancer, insecurity as well, or questioning different areas of your life, August is going to be quite the opposite. We're all going to feel a noticeable shift in energy, not only because Mercury is now moving direct, but also because of all the other planetary shifts taking place throughout the month. And now let's see what you can expect on a personal level. Hello, dear Aries Rising. This is your horoscope for August 2026, and you're starting this month with such a positive planetary change. Venus, the planet of love, is entering the sign of Libra in your seventh house on August the 6th. Venus is the natural ruler of both this sign and this house, which means it will feel quite comfortable during this transit. Of course, slight fluctuations are possible depending on the aspects Venus forms, and we'll discuss that as well. But overall, this is a positive transit. So, what does it mean for you? August could put relationships, partnerships, and interactions with other people into focus. Specifically, on the 9th of August, Mercury will enter Leo, and shortly afterward, around the 13th, it will form a sextile with Venus, with the exact aspect occurring at 6 degrees of both signs. This could bring work related conversations, offers, and agreements. Mercury is the ruler of your sixth house, which is the house of work, and it adds to the overall atmosphere. For example, if you applied for a job or attended an interview, you could receive positive feedback around the middle of August. At the same time, both Mercury and Venus will be forming a beautiful lotus configuration with Jupiter in Leo and Uranus in Gemini. If you're not familiar with the lotus configuration, it consists of two sextiles and a trine, so it's very beneficial and harmonious. When Venus, Jupiter, and Uranus are positively connected, as they are in August, we're talking about pure luck. It's literally a blessing from the universe. And if you have similar aspects in your birth chart, this August could bring positive changes into your life. It's the kind of luck that happens completely unexpectedly and leaves you happy and shocked a little bit because Uranus is involved. And also, with the fifth house included, these aspects are excellent for winning the lottery, for example. If you have similar aspects in your birth chart, you might want to give it a try. And I want to clarify this. A harmonious aspect between Jupiter, Venus, and Uranus represents a powerful astrological code for winning the lottery, especially when the fifth house is also included. Jupiter represents luck and money, Venus also, and then Uranus represents surprises and the universe. And the fifth house is the house of games. And all these things will be active in August, specifically in the mid-August. And one more crucial aspect is the support from Neptune. It will form a trine with Jupiter and Mercury, as well as a sextile with Uranus, creating another lotus configuration. So this is really powerful and unique, and it's such a beneficial period. Neptune is important when it comes to lottery, because it's the natural ruler of the 12th house, and a big lottery win doesn't happen randomly, believe it or not. On the contrary, it's the result of a huge amount of positive energy left from a past incarnation that is now being delivered by the universe. It means that you helped someone so much, or you did something truly kind and generous with a genuine intention to help, that it's now being returned to you by the universe. And that's why Neptune is also important. It's the natural ruler of the 12th house, and the 12th house represents your past incarnation. And it's important to remember that for you to win, there has to be such potential in the birth chart. If you have similar aspects in it, you can try playing the lottery, and who knows? Maybe there will be some positive surprises. And then when it comes to regular everyday stuff, if you're waiting for a result or an outcome, you could be positively surprised around the middle of August. The middle of August could also bring positive developments in your love life because Mercury and Jupiter will meet in Leo in your fifth house around the 15th of August. And at the same time, Venus will be supporting them from your seventh house, which is the house of relationships, along with Uranus from your third house, which is the house of communication. So if you're single, August could bring new contacts and new people completely unexpectedly with Uranus, of course. And for some of you, opportunities to meet someone new could show up while you're on vacation, for example, because that's also the symbolism of the fifth house. And overall, these are all amazing aspects for falling in love. This is also the house of fun activities, the fifth house, and it's also the house of the places we visit to have fun. For example, clubs, restaurants, theaters, and similar venues. So if you want to attract someone new, be more visible this August, especially during the first half of the month. Go out with your friends, have fun, organize some exciting activities or celebrations if there's an occasion to do so, and overall be open to new connections. And as I mentioned in my videos about transiting Jupiter in Leo, with this transit, we're not just waiting for opportunities, we're also creating them by putting ourselves out there and being visible. You can check out the video dedicated to your rising sign. It's titled Aries Rising, Transiting Jupiter in Leo 2026-2027. So I believe you'll find more details there. And then, if you are married, the first half of the month could bring a very positive atmosphere, good communication, happiness, and relaxation to your marriage. Also, if you're planning a vacation, this is a great time to relax and enjoy your free time with your partner. During the first half of the month, Venus in Libra in your seventh house will also be forming a powerful kite configuration with Uranus in Gemini in your third house, Pluto in Aquarius in your 11th house, and Neptune in Aries in your first house. This is also a very powerful configuration. As I said, it's mostly harmonious. The only thing that's not so harmonious is that it includes an opposition. And in this case, it will be an opposition between Venus in the seventh house and Neptune in the first. And this is an invitation for you to consciously make change in the way you approach relationships. Uranus in Gemini represents an opportunity to change your perception and adopt a new mindset, while Pluto brings a much deeper transformation, and they're now connected to Venus. Of course, this is a fast transit, but still we can use it consciously because that's the point of astrology, not only to wonder, oh, what will happen to me. That's a very passive condition. What we need to do is to live consciously and see what is this aspect trying to teach me, and what's the best thing for me to do in this specific moment. And in this case, with the opposition between Venus and Neptune, maybe it's time to let go of some subconscious beliefs represented by Neptune, which rules your 12th house, and adopt new ones. So what are your core values when it comes to your love life? What are the things you no longer want to compromise on? You can redefine what kind of partner you want to be with based on your previous lessons and experiences. And also, what kind of people do you want to collaborate with? Think about that. Because again, aspects are not there to be lived on autopilot. They are there to be experienced and used consciously. So the main question shouldn't be, what can I expect to happen? But rather, how can I make the most of this period? And with the powerful kite configuration happening this August, you can really pause, reflect, and make the first step toward the positive change, primarily in your beliefs about relationships, because Venus in Libra in your seventh house is involved. And if you're starting a relationship in the first half of August, careful with passion. Don't let it blind you, because Venus will be in trine with Pluto and in opposition to Neptune at the same time. In the early stages of relationships in general, we tend to fall in love with someone's potential and an idealized image of them, which can easily lead to disappointment and separation. So check whether you are seeing the clear picture or you're wearing rose colored glasses. Pay attention to that this August. And then another great thing is that around the 12th of August, Mercury will form a lotus configuration with Neptune in Aries in your first house and Uranus in Gemini in your third house. As I mentioned earlier, and let me remind you so that you can follow what I'm saying in a better way, Mercury will be transiting your fifth house in Leo. And this is such a powerful transit for creative work and new ideas. If you work in any field that requires imagination, design, and innovation, the first half of August could be incredibly productive for you. This aspect could literally spark your imagination and you could feel like you're just downloading ideas. So use that consciously. If you really have to work on something, work hard in the first half of August and in the mid-August. And on top of that, on the 12th, while all these configurations are still active in the sky, we'll also have a solar eclipse at 20 degrees of Leo in your fifth house. This is so powerful. And this eclipse is happening on the south node, which usually triggers karmic experiences or endings that clear the way for something new. If you have any planets around this degree of Leo, you could experience significant events over the next 6 months, especially when it comes to your love life, creative work, hobbies, leisure time, and children. Of course, it's good to know that the conjunction is the strongest aspect. And then if you have any planets around 20 degrees of the other fire signs, as well as the air and fixed signs, this eclipse could shake them up and awaken their natal potential. So check which houses they rule and what kind of story they have to offer. This solar eclipse is also a new moon, of course, and it will form a trine with Saturn in Aries in your first house. So it might bring circumstances or an inner impulse to let go of everything that is keeping you stuck in your love life so that you can build something new. Because with Saturn in Aries, you are building. Sometimes we hold on tightly to certain people and situations simply because they're our comfort zone, but in reality, we've outgrown them long ago. So eclipses that occur on the south node usually bring endings so that we can move on to the next level. Also, with this eclipse happening on the south node in your fifth house, if you fall in love with someone, they could seem so familiar from the very first moment. Because with the South Node, people that we know from our past incarnations usually enter our lives. So pay attention to who you are meeting because they could have some important lesson or message for you. And of course, all these things won't happen to everyone. I want to underline that the strongest impact will be felt by those who have planets around the 20th degree of Leo and the other signs I mentioned. And it's interesting that this eclipse will occur in the fifth sign, which is Leo, while Venus is forming an exact lotus configuration with Mercury and Uranus at 5 degrees of Libra, Leo, and Gemini. So number 5, the fifth degree, and the symbolism of the fifth house will be so accentuated during this eclipse. So for some of you, this could literally mean the closure of one chapter in your love life because of the South Node, and then moving forward with fresh, renewed energy. If your natal chart supports it, you could also meet your soulmate in the weeks and months following the eclipse, because a soulmate is someone you already know from your previous incarnations, and that's closely tied to the South Node. So It doesn't have to be a karmic partner every time the South Node is involved, especially when there are harmonious aspects. And also, in most of my videos, I underline that your birth chart is the basis of everything that's happening. So if you in your birth chart you have potential to meet your soulmate, then this is your atmosphere. So pay attention to who you are meeting. And another big change is happening on the 11th of August, right before the eclipse. So we are in this part of August still. Mars, your ruler, will enter the sign of Cancer in your fourth house. This is a super important shift because it's your ruler. So you may focus more on your private life, home, and family. And at the same time, Cancer is the sign of Mars's fall. So you might become more sensitive and defensive, even. Mars in Cancer is prone to being passive aggressive because its actions are driven by emotions. So you can notice a significant energy shift. And around the time of the eclipse, Mars will be forming a T square with Venus and Neptune, while Mercury will be opposing Pluto. Here, it's important to know that eclipses represent sensitive periods because the luminaries, the sun and the moon, are eclipsed, and of course they represent our psyche and consciousness. So during the days leading up to the eclipse, it's best to avoid overreacting or saying too much, especially with Mercury opposing Pluto. So you could say something that's too harsh and not only hurt others but also end up getting hurt yourself because it could backfire in different ways. So just keep that somewhere in the back of your mind. With Mercury in Leo opposing Pluto, communication can become very dramatic. So try to remain calm and withdraw a little bit around the 12th. And the period around the eclipse could be a bit challenging for relationships, also because as I mentioned earlier, Venus, Mars, and Neptune will be forming a T square. If you have similar aspects in your birth chart, different situations could trigger conflicts, tension, and disappointment, especially with Neptune involved. So remember again that your birth chart is the foundation. Whenever transit resemble your natal aspects, they're likely to trigger events because that's your atmosphere. If there's no natal memory, there's nothing to be triggered. And that's why the same transits manifest differently in different people's birth charts. Also, if you have any difficult aspects between Venus, Mars, and Neptune, be extra careful around the 12th. So remember that date. And since we're talking about love, around the 25th of August, Venus will oppose Saturn in your first house. So these couple of days are not particularly favorable for weddings, new collaborations, beginning new relationships, or reaching out to other people to ask for something. Even if someone reaches out to you, you might not be interested, or there could be some roadblocks preventing you from saying yes. So just check what's going on in the sky and in your life around those days, and then decide what kind of actions you want or don't want to take. And also, Venus represents love, of course, as everybody knows, and you don't want to start a marriage or relationship while it's heavily afflicted by Saturn, because Saturn represents obstacles, delays, abandonment, and emotional coldness. And then relationships and marriages that start with an affliction between Venus and Saturn are usually time limited. The same applies to other types of relationships and partnerships and collaborations. So it applies to everything that Venus represents. And on the 23rd, the sun will enter Virgo in your sixth house, and on the 25th, Mercury will follow. This is a great time to focus on your well-being, health, and work. Virgo is all about organization and attention to detail, so the end of August and the beginning of September could be very inspiring for getting back to work after your vacation and returning to your routine. By the end of August, summer is slowly entering its final final stage, and many people feel inspired to set new goals for the final quarter of the year. So use that energy in the most positive and productive way. And on the 28th, we'll have a lunar eclipse on the North Node at 4 degrees of Pisces. The sun will be in conjunction with Mercury in your sixth house during the eclipse, and together with the moon in the 12th. So the eclipse is falling into the 12th house. So together with the moon in the 12th, they'll be forming a T square with Uranus. So this eclipse will be afflicted by Uranus, and that's why it's a bit disruptive, and it can bring some stressful events even. But again, this is not for everybody. It's for those who have similar afflictions in their birth chart, especially between the sun and Mercury and Uranus. So in the weeks and months following the eclipse, some of you might change jobs because the sixth house will be involved. The sun and Mercury will be there. It could also be your own decision to change something, to change your job, your workplace, wherever, or it could happen because of circumstances that are beyond your control. So be careful at work around the 28th. Don't react too much. Keep your thoughts to yourself and just observe. This is not the time to initiate or participate in conflicts. And this can also bring a radical change in your daily routine and habits. If you have any planets around 4 degrees of Pisces and other mutable signs, as well as the earth and water signs, the eclipse could trigger significant changes. As I said, it will fall into your 12th house. So also pay attention to your dreams, and also hidden enemies and wild animals, even in case you are visiting a safari. I'm trying to cover as many possibilities as possible because this is a general reading and I want everyone to get some value from this video. So just take what resonates. But yeah, the 12th house is the house of wild animals, because wild animals attack when we are not paying attention. They're pretty quiet and hidden, somehow not super visible, especially when they're trying to catch their prey. So that's all the symbolics of the 12th house. So pay attention to that as well. And then, since it's falling into the 12th house, this eclipse could also trigger some of your irrational fears and push you to start working on their healing. It's also an opportunity to let go of your old belief system and make radical changes in the way you perceive the world. That's also the 12th house, because your beliefs shape your reality. So think about that. Is it high time for you to say goodbye to some of them and replace them with something way better for you? Overall, with Uranus so prominent, the main theme of this eclipse is change. In your case, it's triggering your 12th house and your sixth house, because of the opposition between the sun and the moon. And with Uranus involved, there could be some changes in your beliefs, but also at work. Also try to stay away from conflicts at work because you don't want problems. Yeah, if you change your work, then make sure to find something way better. And then if the change happens because of the outer circumstances, embrace it and know that it's time for growth. This eclipse is happening on the North Node, so it's time to grow. And yeah, it's time to grow, to move on, start a new chapter in your belief system, work habits, daily routine, your health even. Is there anything that you need to change about your health? Think about that, because health is super important. And in the end, again, let me clarify the impact of eclipses one more time, because some of you might get scared because of the affliction from Uranus. So for events to be activated, the eclipse has to fall on a planet or house cusp in your birth chart, or simply form a strong aspect with a planet in it. If the eclipse is activating something in your horoscope, and on top of that you have similar aspects in your birth chart, then it could bring some important events. Otherwise, it can just pass. So not every eclipse will impact everyone. And if it does impact you, try to stay grounded in the last week of August. And remember that even if change happens, it's nothing but an opportunity for growth and expansion. And even if it doesn't seem like that in the beginning. And of course, make the most of the eclipse that's happening in the first half of August. Remember, the impact of every eclipse is 6 months. So observe what's happening, especially in your love life, in your creative work, and everything that the fifth house covers. And to sum up everything, August is a dynamic and powerful month. Try to make the most of it. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope you found this video useful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. It means a lot because it helps my little channel grow, and also that will help you stay up to date with my monthly horoscopes and other astrology videos. Thank you so much for watching. Make the most of this August, and happy eclipse season. See you in the next one.